everyone. My name is Mart McClellan, and I am president of MacWealth Management. And on behalf of my partner, Tim Stride, and the MacWealth crew, we welcome to this evening's MacWealth Live event. I'm super excited to share our information with our Dr. Jeff Anzalone. He's one of us. He's going to share some information on real estate. He's a dentist as well as a specialist, but he's also passionate about helping his colleagues learn how to really earn money, work smarter, and not necessarily harder, and through the real estate venue. So it's going to be a really exciting presentation that I'll even be learning some things on. But our paths crossed because we're very active in social media. He's actually even more active than me. He's like a rock star in terms of his Debt-Free Doctor podcast. I recommend everybody sort of get on that because it's really great content there. But we met online because he posted that most financial advisors don't like real estate. And for those of you that work with us, you know that we at MacWealth, we love real estate. It's one of the most powerful boxes in the model that we use. And it's a wonderful asset, not only in the pre-retirement years, but also in the retirement years to provide great income as well as some great tax benefits. And Jeff's going to sort of talk through with you on that. So with that being said, welcome, Jeff. Thanks for coming on board with us. We're super excited to have you join us here. I loved his title that he picked, from $300,000 of student loan debt to a real estate millionaire. You're going to really see where he started and where he is today. It's a great story. But with that being said, I do need to have a disclaimer. Of course, this information is not financial advice. Anything you hear on this webinar of interest, run it by your own personal financial advisor. And of course, past performance is no guarantee of future results. But if you ever have any questions on any of this information, obviously you can certainly reach out to us. My contact information or our contact information will be here at the end. So with that being said, welcome, Jeff, once again, and give us a little bit of perspective of your story. As I said, you're a dentist specialist like myself. We come from similar backgrounds in that respect, but we've taken to a different level in terms of trying to help our colleagues understand how to make really money work for us in the most efficient manner. So give us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I'll actually start it off whenever I was 2 weeks before I was getting ready to finish my perio residency at LSU. Set the stage a little bit. I'm from a small town in Louisiana, and I was supposed to come back and join this group practice. As you know, they don't teach you anything about money or starting a practice in dental school. So I was relying on the practice, the group, to teach me and, show me the ropes. So I called them up, finally got my graduation date, called them up, and they were having issues amongst themselves. And they basically just said, look, it's just not a good time to bring somebody in. And I'm thinking, is this a joke? Am I on, I'm looking around at my own candid camera. We had a 2-month-old at the time who's now 19 and playing college football. Time flies. 300,000 in student loan debt. But again, the worst, and we'd already bought a home back then. You could buy, this was pre-2008 real estate crash. I knew a banker here. He's like, oh yeah, we'll get you that house, the one that we wanted. I know the group that you're going to go in with. Here, just sign this. And it was just literally just a few pieces of paper. So already bought a house, zero patience, zero nothing. And the worst part was about not knowing how to run a business or practice, and luckily a guy reached out to me. He was an endodontist. Something similar happened to him. And he was in a little 2-operatory office. He said, look, I'm renovating this big building, but it's not going to be ready for a whole year. And you can come in my office and just maybe every now and then share an operatory, but I'll help you network with the dentists in the area. Maybe you can go work in their practices and that. And that really set me back mentally because, I grew up in a household that now looking back on it had a scarcity, like a limited mindset. Probably some people that are on this webinar have probably heard the same things I did growing up. We can't afford that. That costs too much. What do you think we're made out of? Money? We think money grows on trees. So I always thought, okay, well, money must be limited because that's what I was always told. And I was always told you have to be really frugal. You have to really save your money. You know, you don't, you want to put it in a savings account or checking account. You don't want to let go of it. You know, you want to hold on tight to it. Well, when this situation happened to me, it really put me into survival mode because at that point I'd never had any debt. And I was thinking, okay, well, yeah, I'll have 300,000 in debt, but I'm going to be making six figures. I'll be able to pay it off. Now I had like zero income. And it's funny looking back now at what I'm getting ready to tell you, but it wasn't at the time because in high school and college, I had a lawn service. And I actually started going back to some of those people. I used to mow their yards and I started mowing yards again. I was probably the world's most specialized trained yard guy in the country, you know. But you know what? I had to do what it took
You
to
do what you got to do.
do what you got to do. And that I think that really taught me about I don't take anything for granted and really thankful for everything that I anything that I started to get ahead of that. But so the guy started showing me the ropes. We moved into the new building. He let me use his staff, his equipment. I didn't have to take any more loans. That was good. And I like to write everything down. I've got this yellow legal pad here and still write stuff down. So I told him, I said, look, I'll stay with you. I'm gonna stay with you for a couple of years, but I eventually want to get out and start my own practice. So the lens that I was looking at through this practice transition, yeah, he was helping me with practice and employees and hiring and all that kind of stuff. But I was also looking at it like, what do I need to know when I leave to start my business? So I was looking at it from a business aspect and then from running a practice. And after about 2 years, I looked up, I had over 100 pages written down. And I said, you know what? I bet you there's somebody out there that would benefit from this. And I found somebody online and they helped me edit and do all that stuff. And I actually self-published a book called What They Don't Teach You in Dental School. I mean, it's very basic. It's everybody on this call knows what's in there. But when you get out of dental school, if you want to start your own practice, that book is for them. And it's still selling to this day on Amazon. And that I didn't even think about it at that time. I mean, it wasn't about the money, but I still every month I get a little check from Amazon just from people, you don't get, a couple bucks or whatever from Amazon. They take the majority of it. But again, I guess looking back, that was probably one of my first taste of passive income. And so after that happened, I was a big Dave Ramsey guy back then. You're talking 05, 06. It was really just him and like Susie Orman. And, I was just going all over the place. So I'm really glad he gave me some structure, debt snowball, pay off your smallest debts to largest debts. I followed his 7 baby steps. We took about 7 years to pay off the 300,000 of student loans plus that first house. And I was, every day I had a whiteboard and I was, marking it off every time I paid off on the debts and I, mark one down, this and that. So I was so excited when I finally got to the day where I drove into my driveway, no mortgage, no nothing. It was great for about a day. And it's like, okay, now what, 2 years later, we go snow skiing. At the time, my kids were 8 and 6. Got off a lift with my wife, ski school, kid jumps out of line. I swerve, I about just kill him. And when I fell, I injured my wrist. And that was the wake up call that really said, Jeff, what you're doing, the way that you're operating as a dentist, as a periodontist is very risky because if you can't use your hands, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know what else to do. It's not like I can just go work at Starbucks or something. I've got to figure out a way to do it, to do something to provide income because at that time I had, I practice 401ks and index funds, Vanguard, college accounts, HSA 529s. But guess what? None of that was helping me now, or none of that was helping me then. There's no other income stream. It was all on Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, I started a deep dive online and looking at really how the wealthy people operate. And then there's some people in my hometown. I actually have a billionaire, yes, with the B, billionaire mentor here in town who graduated with my dad. And I noticed two things about these people. One, they all have real estate in their portfolio. At that time, I had zero. And number two, they all have multiple income streams, average of 7 to 9. And at the time, I had one. And that really helped me. And I had a strong enough why, the book Simon Sinek, Start With Why. I had a strong enough why to keep me going on this mission. Because if you don't have a strong enough why, you're not going to do anything, lose weight or get other income streams or do whatever. So every time I failed, and I failed a lot, and I still fail today, but now I don't call it failing, I call it learning. But I always went back and it was like, okay, I got to do this. I have to do this. And about at that time, I started my blog that you mentioned, debtfreedoctor.com, because back then there wasn't really a lot of people teaching this to other dentists. And I was basically just and it helped me remember it because, all these new terms, cap rate and NOI and ROI and IRR, all these real estate terms, they don't teach you any of that thing. They teach us mesial, distal, occlusal, all that kind of stuff. So that would help me. I would write an article about it. And then after 2 or 3 years, I started a little following. And people would reach out to me and go, they would tell me what they want. Hey, Jeff, can you tell me about this? Or what's a real estate syndication? Or how can I get passive income? Or what am I doing? I'm really burning out. I want to sell my practice. So I get all this stuff, and it was really good because I could go out and find the answers and write blogs on it. And the thing that I eventually settled on was a real estate syndication. And if you don't know what that is, that's basically a group investment to where you pool your money with other passive investors. And the thing is, our biggest wealth building tool is our dental practice, our dental income. Because we spent all that time, energy, money, debt, effort. And I see too many people, they start taking the focus away from that. And I had a guy reach out to me. He wanted we to teach him how to buy a trailer park. So he was taking all this time away from his practice and family. And he would just been better off really focused on making more money in his practice and taking that extra money and investing in a passive investment, which gives him an extra income stream each year. And I'll never forget, I invested in an apartment complex, a syndication in Dallas, $50,000 investment. And after about 3 months, they sent me a check for $333.33. It was an 8% return. And I was thinking, I just paid two bills. I don't know, it was an internet bill or light bill or whatever, and I didn't have to treat patients. 6 months later, I did another one with it, and it doubled, $666.66. And then that was just the start. So now I did the Dave Ramsey debt snowball. So this was almost like a passive income snowball. You start small, keep adding to it, adding to it. And now, I've gotten to the point where I'm 6 figures a year in just passive income. It's not easy. It's not like, oh, you can just do this, take this course or do this one little thing. I mean, it's something, again, just like your 401k or just like anything, your health or whatever, you have to be consistent with it. And that's the key. If you have a strong enough why and you're consistent with it, then, my goal is to get people to the point where work is optional. And
I love that. I
you
love that.
operate differently when you do that.
And I think, a couple comments that you made there too is that, in typical American consumer, dentists included, actually a high percentage of dentists, because that's the, way most of it raised, is that there's the whole concept of, scarcity consciousness versus prosperity consciousness. And, you really need to sort of change your entire mindset towards that prosperity side. And, until you do that, it's going to be difficult to sort of succeed in the ways that you really expect to succeed. And then another point you made about your risks, I tell you, all of us as dentists and specialists, our most valuable assets are our brain and our ability to work, whether it's our back, our wrist, whatever. And so we're big proponents of, those things need to be protected through, whether it's disability insurance or, whatever, maybe life insurance, medical, all these things need to be maximized to their fullest. And then, third, you're talking about those billionaires. The billionaires, they don't, believe you me, they don't believe in accumulating wealth. They believe in accelerating wealth. And it's very, very difficult to accelerate or your wealth if you're sort of going down the traditional path. So, with that being said, we have some questions to sort of, ask you to go down the path. Unless you want to add anything more to your story, we can do that as well. But I know you made some comments about student loans and things like this. What are your thoughts on, you said you did the sort of the debt snowball type of thing, and, would you do that again, or would you say, there may be a better way of doing that?
Well, I have to put myself back then. The only thing that I knew how to invest in was index funds. And and I think that if you don't, so let's say you have an extra 2 grand a month to pay on student loans or to do something with it. I think if you don't really have a good, consistent plan to do something with that 2 grand every month, you're just better off paying off that debt. That's my opinion. And that's where I was financially in my life back then. And I'm glad I did it. We stayed in that first house for 15, 16 years. Expenses kept our expenses really low. And I was able to get a big delta between, our expenses and all this extra money that I had left over. And then everything was going into Vanguard mutual funds. And then once I got to the point where I started doing these syndications, was still maxing out our office 401k and all that, and all the other accounts, 529, which we just started tapping into. I'm learning about that now, and using that, and what it can be used for this year. But now all that extra money goes into buying property. We're buying, I've got a partner where we just actually just got a contract today for our 5th mobile home park. They're all in Louisiana. And then I've got another business partner. We actually just closed today on our 17th RV park up in beautiful Glacier, Montana. And it's just a weird mindset thinking, because, let's say you want to buy a truck. Truck's about what, 50 grand new, something like that.
Yeah,
The old Dave
minimum, I
Ramsey
think.
way. What's that?
Minimum, I think.
Okay.
Things are pricey nowadays.
Well, let's say it's 50 grand. Well, the Dave Ramsey way that Jeff used to do was, okay, it's 50 grand. I'm gonna take out X amount of money, let's say 2 grand or 3 grand a month or whatever. And maybe it takes me a year and a half to save up for it. So I just took a year, and let's just say it's a year and a half. I took a year and a half of my life trading time for money, treating patients, putting money in a money market account or something. And then I go pay for that truck. Right. And that's how I had been operating. That was the only way. You got things that and then you have things that you don't know. And there's way more things in that quadrant. And once I started learning the difference of how to use other people's money and how to use leverage and real estate, now and this was the switch right here. If people don't get anything off of this webinar, if they just get this in their mind and start doing it, it will completely change their financial direction. Focus on you taking and investing and appreciating cash flowing assets, businesses, real estate, etc., and get that to pay for your liabilities. That's it. So now, instead of Jeff paying for the truck, I've got a RV park that makes the payments. But here, look what's happened. Let's say it takes 5 years for that RV park to pay off. Let's say it takes 5 years for the RV park to pay off the truck. And let's say it took me 5 years of treating patients and saving up if I was paying on the truck. Well, at the end of 5 years, that $50,000 truck's probably worth 35 grand, unless one of my kids scratched it or wrecked it or something. And I have to start all over, because I'll probably in the next 5 years get another truck. So I just start saving more. But with that RV park, now that RV park has appreciated, right? It's gone up in value. Plus we've been raising the rents because of inflation. Everything goes up, right? When's the last time you decreased your prices in dentistry? When's the last time a dental supplier decreased? Oh yeah, you're good news. The implants that you're buying from us, we're lowering the price. That don't happen. So everything keeps going up. So that you can hedge the inflation with your real estate. And now even though you're driving a depreciating liability, you still have that asset to that's paid up for it, and now it can pay for something else. Thus, taking the most important thing is taking Jeff out of the equation, trading time for money, having to pay for that truck. So every time I get an asset, I get excited because now, the trailer park that we're getting, we figured it up. I mean, it's not going to be much. It's going to be an extra 2 grand a month, but that's tax free. And I can go, I mean, 2 grand a month, 2 grand a month, where we want to go travel or pay down on something or whatever. But it's just being consistent with it. One of my trailer parks pays for my mortgage right now. They don't teach you that in dental school, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So hold that
that
thought,
is,
because we're going to get into that one, because I love that whole thing.
yeah, but
It's
that's the mindset shift. Get your assets to pay for your liabilities and you're golden.
Well, that's right. And I think, that's why the Dave Ramsey mantra is very difficult long term to really accelerate things, because you feel good about paying off the debt. And believe me, we're big proponents of, not having a lot of debt. But the fact of the matter is, you're losing your time of your life, right? There's the exponential curve of life. We only have one curve to live on. So if it takes you 10 years to do a certain thing, you're going to be really happy when maybe that debt's paid off, or maybe, but you lost 10 years of potential growth of doing other things to manage your wealth, to maximize it to its fullest potential. And so it's sort of like, and I think you did a cool podcast I watched, Kiyosaki versus Ramsey, right? These things, these are two different worlds that people sort of go down. And, the main thing is looking at the big picture. So, you know, for the folks here, I know you've been talking about these RV parks, and I'm extremely excited to sort of get a little idea of, what they're all about. And I'm sure the listeners online and here are gonna, get an idea of what you're doing with these RV parks, because it's very intriguing. And so maybe give us, what is a syndication? How is it different than just doing it yourself? Just give a little background on a syndication, and then we can sort of do a little deeper dive on your experiences with the RV parks. I saw a picture of the one in Montana that you just picked up. Wow, that thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, I'm excited about going up there this summer for
Yeah.
it. As I mentioned earlier, I thought getting into real estate, I had to go buy a house, put a tenant in it, manage it, repair the walls, fix the plumbing when it stops up and all that. But the beauty of syndications or group investments is you can pool your money with other people. Like most of these are $50,000 minimum investments. You need to be an accredited investor, and you pool your money with other people. So you kind of look at it like a plane ride. Yeah, the pilots on the plane are the syndicators or the general partners. They handle everything. They find the property, they get the debt on it, they raise the capital, they manage it, they send you out distribution checks every quarter. And then you have the passengers on the plane, or the limited partners, which is you and me and everybody else. We basically buy our ticket, which is our investment, and we sit back, and we're both going to the same destination, the same trip ends, to eventually sell the property, but we're getting paid along the way. And that's and I've been in just about every type of asset class. Started off in apartments, multifamily, got into self-storage, short-term rentals, mobile home parks, and now RV parks. And now I can sit back and have look at the different pros and cons of each. And we really settled on RV parks and mobile home parks for multiple reasons. But that's the gist of what a syndication is.
Awesome. So, with that RV decision, so you said you've done all these different things. Obviously, you're very well versed in the whole real estate space. You said there are multiple things of what you think is the benefits of an RV park. Maybe give me a couple or three of, what is the advantage over maybe short-term rental. I know short-term rentals are a big deal right now. It tends to be a big investment. Self-storage has always been one of the leaders in passive income, from my understanding. And so, but I've never really heard much about RV parks, although my sister-in-law invested in trailer parks, which I think there's probably a little difference between trailer parks and RV parks. I'm assuming maybe not, but so give us me a couple of reasons why RV parks, and then, answer this question, is this type of, you kind of answered it with a syndication of the airplane. Is it for busy individuals? But you can wrap back on that one too.
Yeah, I actually work with an endodontist. He's on the East Coast, and is a syndicator with self storage, and I've worked in 4 projects with him. He's actually now starting to shift over to RV parks because of the some of the differences, and the couple of main things that are different between apartments and self storage and other these other asset classes is the amount of money it takes from how cheap it is to maintain the insurance on apartments has just gone sky high. That's why several of these multifamily syndicators or can't pay their bills. I know one group that they were paying $500 a door for insurance, that it went up to 3 grand a door. No claims filed, nothing. It's kind of like if let's say you have a $5,000 a month note on your practice and they say, oh, now it's $25,000 a year. It's like, you can't make your pay. You can't make that work. So the insurance, the taxes, the maintenance, all of that has just gone up so much. But with RV parks, they drive in their RVs and then they leave. If there's bad weather, they leave. And we have one in Oklahoma. A lot of bad weather just came through there. It had some limbs down and you got to do some cleanup, but everybody left. We pretty much concrete or gravel or whatever, and we had like a little office, but it's not as intensive to maintain it. But it is more of a hospitality business, and I like it because with an apartment you get your rent and that's it. But there's all kinds of different streams of income. And I didn't know this going in, but there's actually 3 types of people that go to RV parks. One are the transient people, which I mean, they only stay there a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
And you can charge the most because, if let's say it's in the summer and you have an area where you're near the beach, well, you can charge more then. The second type of tenant are people that work in the areas. We have one in Vicksburg, Mississippi, that's like 90% occupied by workers. They have like 200 sites. They're working for months at a time at a nuclear plant a few miles from our RV park. Then you actually have people that live there permanently. So if you have some slow times in the year, you got these people to keep paying the bills. So those are the 3 types of people. You have laundry that you can charge for, ice machines, propane. We have some parks that we make 6 figures a year just in propane sales.
Interesting. That's really
Uh,
interesting.
Golf cart rentals. We're looking at one right now in Northwest Louisiana, where we could put video poker machines in there. And it's just there's multiple types of income streams. And here's the thing, when we buy these, a lot of times from these mom and pop people. So think about if you buy a dental practice from a 80-year-old guy that still has paper charts, it still dips the x-rays in and has the dark room and all that. And you go in there and let's say he's grossing 500 grand a year. Well, you could just go and just update it and start marketing a little bit, and you could probably double that. So that's kind of the analogy. We're finding practices like that to where they've done the same thing for the last 20 or 30 years. Now we have a management team, we have professional social media people. Everything's payment on, like when you go to an Airbnb, how you book online, everything you book on, we get paid up front, book online, and that's where you get the value add. And
Mm-hmm.
if we can find the price low enough and figure out, well, how much value can we add, that delta right there, that's what's huge. And you make your money in real estate on the buy, and we have a really good team that can do that. And once you know what you're doing, I mean, it's just a system like anything else, and you just keep using it and go from there.
Yeah. And so obviously, sort of what you said before about, is it for biz professionals? You're sort of, your analogy with the plane, I think is very apropos. You're just sort of sitting back and going along for the ride. You buy your ticket and then let the airlines, quote airlines, take care of it from there. Which, makes it, the fact of the matter is, we're good at what we do, and you can't sort of be a jack of all trades. And, and even me personally too, it's like real estate can be very challenging, and sometimes goes up and goes down. And the whole insurance piece you made, or the comment you made, is fantastic, because even happened me in South Carolina, where the insurance rates are going up so high that the insurance company I was using, they dropped all coastal insurance in South Carolina for their particular company. And I know in Florida, we have many friends in Florida that are having similar issues with their insurance coverage. And so, those prices have just gone, through the roof. And so obviously it seems like with this type of structure, that's not necessarily the case, because there's technically, there may be some structures on premises, but nothing like having many homes or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And then, maybe last question, maybe we can talk about some of the real estate economy at the end of it, but you know, this is the rabbit hole that I love to go down, because Tim and I and our team, we are not traditional retirement planners by any means, and so we believe there's a lot wrong with traditional retirement planning. What are your thoughts on the traditional world of personal finance?
Well, it's that was the route that Dave Ramsey put me on
Yeah.
until, like I mentioned, I got hurt. And we didn't even talk about taxes and all the different ways you could save taxes, even on your dental income with real estate. And once you learn how to play the game, it doesn't even make sense to practice full time anymore. I'm only working 3 days a week because I understand, and that's what all the Trump, the Bezoses, the Buffetts, all these billionaires, they're surrounded with people that know how to play the tax game. And it's like, what's the point of working when you can make the same amount of money working part time? And once you understand how to do that, and there's a couple of loopholes that you could just go online, the real estate professional status and short term rental loophole. And I've got plenty of articles and videos on them. And you just work with your accountant or your advisor or both. And that's what I do. They set you up, and away you go. And the main thing is, with the traditional retirement planning, work's not optional when you want it. You have to work until you can tap into the 401k or whatever whenever you're 60 or whatever it is. But what if you don't want to work that long, or what if you want to do something else, like you? I mean, you're doing something different. I'm doing something different. So I just like having options. I don't like being told what to do, but just one thing and that's it. Give people their options and let them choose because you know what? It all boils down to what's best for you. Because what's best for you may not be what's best for me, and vice versa. So give people options, and they know what's best for them. Real estate, they may not be best for them. That's fine. But at least give them options and let them choose. We can give them a little guidance, but let them choose. And man, you operate so much differently when you have that freedom of time.
Oh, you just nailed that. I mean, it's so true. One of the biggest things we talk about is, flexibility and options. I mean, when you have flexibility and options, you're able to weather the storm of the economies. And unfortunately, the majority of people that we come across, at least in the first time in our introductions, is that everybody's all excited and happy about maxing out their 401k, and they're doing backdoor Roths and all this and that, and cash balance plans. But the problem is that that's just going into one bucket. And so it's a fine bucket, but it's not the only bucket. But when everything is going in there, you're creating less flexibility and less options, because, as we all know, government plans like those are, they're limited in terms of how you can move the money and when you can get the money out, how the money's taxed, blah blah blah. And so we're the strong benefit that real estate's an amazing piece of the puzzle, as well as businesses, private equity, stocks and bonds, all these things. It's like kind of all the above. And but unfortunately, so many people poo-poo it, like, they get in the camp of real estate, or they get in the camp of stocks and bonds, or they get in the camp of cash balance plans, or life insurance, or whatever. I mean, it's like they're all in on these particular things, when in reality, holistically, it's all the above. And from what's wrong with traditional planning, a lot's wrong with the traditional planning. But the fact of the matter is, when you get to retirement, as you saw in our book, and we wrote our book, which we can talk about here in just a moment, but we don't want our clients to have a pay cut in retirement. We want as much as income as possible from multiple different places. And I love that idea about, and I never realized that all the different income streams from an RV park. That is like super cool. My partner, Tim, he owns car washes. And so, he helped, pay for his kids' college one quarter at a time, if you know what I mean. And so, paying for college with other people's money is much more beneficial than, tucking it away over here and sort of just locking that money up for a certain period of time. And so there's so many different facets of, creating wealth. But whenever you let money sit in one place for too long, it gets eroded by the wealth eroding factors. And maybe we can sort of, finish on that a little bit in terms of the state of the economy, because obviously we've been in a very high inflationary environment over the next, last number of years. The next couple of years, it's a little bit problematic in my opinion, whether it's the federal government and the debt situation at hand. And even, I'd like to know your perspective too on, real estate over the next couple of years, because with interest rates where the way they are, I just saw that on a post even today that small business owners having a hard time making rents. So I think do you feel there's a storm coming down the road with the economy? What is your perspective on that?
I think there's always storms brewing somewhere. Right now you can look in the world and there's hurricanes and tsunamis. And I think if you stay in your lane and, that's why once let's say your niche is in implants or veneers or whatever. And if you know what you're doing and you stay in your lane, but when you start trying to just go all over the place and go off in some of these landlord unfriendly states and
Yeah,
do this just
right.
because on social media they're saying to do this apartment or do this short-term rental or do this or that, and you're just all over your place. But if you get good, there's riches and niches. If you get good and really focused at one thing and get people around you that know what they're doing, that's that's what I love. And one last thing about what we were just talking about, traditional retirement planning. It's just it's amazing to me. And we had a discussion online the other day in one of those Facebook groups, how brainwashed we've become to once we get to retirement age, how we're always thinking, oh, hopefully when I retire, my tax bracket's lower and all my expenses are lower. And it's just like, okay, so what you're saying is you want me to work my entire life to finally get to the point retirement and just live like a freaking hermit
Yeah.
and just be cheap and don't do anything and live off of $3,000 a month. What the hell is that? But that's
Well,
what
the
we've
great
been brainwashed to. It's like, no, I want to travel. I want to, take my grandkids place. I want to live it up because your time's so important. And, but again, it's just literally I had to go back and relearn everything I had been taught because it's kind of like golf. When I used to play golf, it was like everything that I thought I had to do, you know, if I want to hit the ball, tighten up and just swing hard. It was just like everything was opposite. You're loose and you're fluid and, you just, let gravity do it or whatever it was back then. I don't know what the newest trainer is, but it's true. It's like, you know, yeah, it was almost like when you get out of dental school and you get into private practice and it's like everything's different. You don't spend 2.5 hours cutting an MOD amalgam, right? It's like 2 minutes,
yeah.
you know? So yeah, so that was my rant on that.
Oh, no, I love it. I love it. I mean, it's a sort of the scarcity mindset. We say all the time, like that's, it's even like on our book here, it's like, that we don't want a pay cut, right? And so, advisors say, well, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. We always say, like, if you're planning on a lower tax bracket, you should not really have that advisor, because you want to make as much money as you can possibly make from the many different sources. You may not maybe get to the full income, but you just want to make as much as you possibly can and not be as prosperous as you can, because every dollar we have in our life has a place to be, and it needs to be in the most efficient place that it possibly can be. And when it's all going into one particular bucket, you're really limiting yourself in terms of your ability to sort of live retirement to its fullest. And you should spoil grandkids, travel the way you want, and just do whatever you please without any worries of, oh, do I have enough? And, you want to have maximum enjoyment, you want to have maximum income without the fear of running out of money, because the greatest fear in retirement for retired people, even more than death, is running out of money. And so when you have things like what you've created through these passive income streams, or all the different income streams that we try to create for the people we work with, once again, it gets back to the flexibility and option piece where, okay, so maybe the real estate, as you said, maybe, you stay in your lane, but maybe the real estate market does take a hit, or maybe, stocks and bonds are taking a hit, or whatever it may be. You just pull a different lever and you're still going to be fine. So it's never changing world. And we hope that people who are and listen to this are aware that we definitely have some concerns about the future in the economy, and we just want to make sure that everybody's just being fully aware of, okay, how do you manage your tax situation, right? Because with the debt the way it is, Uncle Sam, there aren't many levers they can pull anymore, and unfortunately, they're terrible at cutting spending, and we can't really grow our way out of it. And so the tax man's coming usually, and they've even talked about raising capital gains up over 40%. I don't know if you've heard that little piece recently. Yeah. So the one thing we can't control is how the government changes the rules, because they always change no matter what administration's coming into the office. Things will change, and we just need to be aware that, okay, as long as we have many things going on, we can sort of manage that in the best way possible. So yeah, so with that being said, if anybody online has any comments, or want a group chat, want to pop a question in the chat, I'm sure Jeff would be more than happy to answer them. And if not, we can finish up here with a couple other comments that I can make. And while we're waiting any chat questions, I can, this is our book. If anybody wants a copy of the book and doesn't have the copy of the book, let us know. We'll be more than happy to pop you out one of those copies. I just finished writing another excerpt on a book with Joe Foster. He's the founder of Reebok, and he asked about 20 of us to give a little chapter on how to survive and thrive. And so, all the proceeds of this book go to a school in Uganda for the children of Uganda. So certainly, if anybody would like a copy, just pick it up, and all proceeds go to that great cause. And I see a chat question, Jeff. So here we go. Dr. Sexton makes the comment: should you invest with personal monies or LLC money?
I don't know what LLC money is. I'm thinking
through an LLC, I'm guessing.
Through an LLC. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a new one to me.
Yeah.
I would speak, of course, with your accountant or advisor about this, but it really doesn't matter, because the general partner and the limited partner together, they're investing in an LLC that holds the property. What I tell people is, if you already have an LLC and you're already doing real estate and all that, then go ahead and use that if you want to. The other reason you may want to use an LLC, if you want to remain anonymous. That's what the attorneys tell me. But as far as protection and all that, the LLC that owns the property, like the LLC for every RV park, we have a holding company. For every RV park that we purchase, we open a separate LLC, and then that LLC associated with that has a separate checking account. So for each property, it's separate. So it really doesn't matter. It's not going to give you any more tax advantages or anything like that. But if you already have an LLC set up, if you think you're going to start investing in real estate for the long run, go ahead and do it. That's my advice. But again, speak with your accountant or your advisor and see what they say. But good question.
So do you hold all your RV parks under like a holding company, all of them in combination? But then if people invest with you, it comes from that one particular LLC, right? So it doesn't run through the holding company; it runs through that LLC. Is that
right? So so for instance, the Montana deal that actually just closed today, if people invested in that LLC, Moose Creek RV Park, they would be invested in just that LLC that holds that park. Now, occasionally we'll do funds that the fund will hold multiple. That one LLC of the fund, kind of like a mutual fund. A mutual fund has multiple stocks. Well, some of our funds hold multiple RV parks, and you would get a piece of all those. The other question is, will the accelerated depreciation laws hold up? I saw you commented recently. From what I'm hearing from my accountant, it doesn't look like it's going to pass. Go back to 100%. So if you're filing taxes this year, for last year, 2023, it's 80% accelerated appreciation, and then 60. But again, unless you're a real estate professional, it really doesn't matter. So, I mean, people always ask me these questions, and it's like, well, you're basically just going to offset the income that you're going to get from the RV parks anyway. So, and again, unless it takes taxes off your dental income, it doesn't really matter.
Maybe the last of the questions. One little shout out for our annual event coming up in September. Many of you have actually attended this event. See how great of an event it is. It's going to be a full day event. We've got all kinds of speakers coming in as well on all different types of topics. And it's on Friday, September 27th. And we have a Cubs game on Saturday, rooftop.
Nice.
So, and Jeff, would love to have you attend. That'd be amazing. And we will be getting invites out here. The registration link is probably going to hopefully come out this week. We've already had a save the date sent out, so hopefully people can put that in their schedule with all this prior notice. Couple things.
Where do we go to sign up for that? Is it on your website?
We'll give with that it'll come out hopefully this week on our website as well as a personal link there. And then Jeff too, and if you'd like, if you can give us maybe your contact information, I don't have the slide, but if I can't, we can get to the people who are on this call. I think your email is pretty simple, right? It's jeff@debtfreedoctor.com. Is that?
Yeah, I'll put my website's debtfreedoctor.com, and it's got the link to my YouTube channel, Instagram. So I'll put it in the chat, and then jeff@debtfreedr.com is my email.
Perfect. So I'm sure he would welcome any comments and questions for sure. And with that being said, I want to thank you, Jeff, for your time this evening. It was hopefully very educational for the folks that were on board here, and I'm sure it's going to be educational for the people we share it with. So thanks again for your expertise as a fellow dentist like myself. It's fun helping our folks sort of navigate this crazy world of traditional financial planning, which it's everybody's a bunch of they're in the herd mentality. We all say if everybody I'm always of the opinion like, hey, if everybody's doing it the same way, maybe we should look a different way. And so that's because there's a lot of misinformation out there, unfortunately. And so it's great to hear what you have to say, and thanks again. So
my pleasure.
With that being said, goodbye, everybody, and we will be having these events more frequently. And thanks for your time. Bye-bye now.